And we are live. All right. Hi, everyone. Super excited to be here today with not one, but two amazing individuals, co-founders of the Quality Media and Quality Edit. I'm going to go into their introductions and their bios because they have accomplished quite a bit in their careers. But first, I wanted to say that we have a couple announcements from Female Founder Collective. Number one, Female Founders Day is sold out. I think this is the earliest it's ever been sold out. We're almost a month out, and yet there are no more tickets left, sadly. We will keep you guys posted if for some reason there become additional openings. But if you love Female Founders Day and are so sad to miss it, we do have the 10th House, which is our private membership community where we basically have Female Founders Day every day. We are focusing right now on health and wellness. And the idea behind 10th House is to build, scale, and thrive together. We do sessions like these where we bring in experts for you to be able to ask your burning questions, to go through your pain points in your business and sort of workshop in real time. We have things in person as well as virtual. We have over 120 events per year across the country, which is pretty insane. And so depending on what market you're in, it's almost a guarantee that you will have events in your city hosted by members, as well as hosted by us predominantly in Los Angeles and New York. Although we do visit Miami here and there, San Francisco here and there, Austin, where Rebecca and I will be next month. So lots happening there. But without further ado, I'm going to dive into it with these ladies and start picking their brains. We have first Lee Joselowitz. I think I got that right, is the co-founder of the Quality Edit and Quality Media, which is a performance marketing agency that has grown to 8-figure revenue in just 4 years, which is insane. That's, for those of you that don't have a service business, that's nearly impossible to do. So huge kudos to you guys. And as head of growth marketing at Ritual, she helped scale the brand from launch to over 100 million in annual revenue. Her experience at Ritual led her to pioneer performance publishing and establish Quality Media to help brands cut through the noise. And then we have Lauren Kleinman, who was on, I think, with us a couple years ago. So we're super excited to have you back. She is the founder and CEO of Dreamday, an award-winning agency pioneering performance PR to drive brand growth. She's also the co-founder of Quality Media, leveraging performance publishing to power customer acquisition for brands like Goop, Ritual, and ILIA. And as a former VP of marketing at Ritual, Lauren has helped scale multiple companies and now leads 2 fast-growing businesses generating over 10 million in revenue. And again, that's it's just an insane number if you put that in context of service-based businesses. And usually you don't put performance and publishing in the same sentence. And also usually you especially don't do it with PR, but you guys have really been vanguards in that sense. So super excited for you to be on here. And I'm going to go ahead and start peppering you all with the questions that we have from a lot of our audience members as well. But both of you have built incredible brands, obviously, and redefined how consumers discover and trust products. Can you each share what led you to create Quality Media and Quality Edit?
Yeah, thank you so much for having us, Allie. We're super excited to be on and speaking with your amazing audience and excited to be back. As you mentioned, we have many businesses that we're discussing today between Dreamday and Quality Media. I can start with Dreamday. We actually going back to kind of our genesis story, as you kind of touched on in our bios, Lee and I were formerly at Ritual and worked really hand in hand to drive the brand's most lucrative and innovative partnerships, working with top tier publishers, which led to kind of the inception of Quality Media down the road. And as it relates to Dreamday, also managed all the top PR agencies across the US. I also couldn't find an affiliate agency that I really trusted with Ritual's brand. So we basically saw this massive gap in how brands were being serviced by PR and affiliate agencies. Many people on the call may know you typically get a UVPM metric at the end of the month saying that you reached, 1 billion impressions. But when I was looking under the hood at GA data and trying to understand what was happening to our traffic, I wasn't really seeing that press convert. And at the same time, I saw how publishing was evolving and commerce was becoming such a more important strategy, and most affiliate agencies just didn't have those relationships. So at Dreamday, we really bridge PR, affiliate marketing, and strategic storytelling into kind of one synergistic scope, and really help brands craft narratives that build long-term trust while driving measurable sales and revenue. So getting kind of both pieces of that equation. Yeah.
Question for you, just so that to level set with the audience, because a lot of them might not know what an affiliate agency does typically.
Yeah.
I think they're maybe a little bit more familiar with PR, but can you speak to what affiliate agencies do, and then also what a UVPM is for those?
Yeah. Absolutely. So affiliate agencies are typically managing platforms that are affiliate platforms. Typically, these can be platforms like Share a Sale or Impact, or sometimes you might use like the affiliate, like Partnerize. And basically, they're helping build relationships on behalf of the brand, in a way that the publisher, and I'm using publisher as a broad term, it can really be any partner, is receiving a commission for mentioning that brand or product. So let's say you're going to Vogue and you're buying a weighted blanket. That publisher, Vogue or Condé Nast, their publishing company, is receiving a small commission on any sale that they drive. And so those affiliate marketing agencies are not only forging those relationships, but helping build the storytelling on the brand's behalf if done well, and helping really drive revenue, whether that is working with publishers, bloggers, influencers, or creators across the platform. And then UVPM is unique views per month. So a lot of times traditional PR agencies will kind of add up all of the publications that they've earned press coverage on behalf of, into a very large number and say, like, here is kind of how we're quantifying our press. But a lot of times, and again, especially with how publishing has evolved, there's better metrics that we now have access to by leveraging the affiliate platform.
Right. I think that's super helpful context.
Quality media.
Yeah, and I'll tag along to that. Very, very similar. As founders, we were in the shoes of our now clients when we were brand side and on the ritual side, building one of those first D2C brands. And we just kept coming to the same frustration amongst various partners. First, you had your media partners and publishers who were great storytellers, but didn't really know how to drive customer acquisition or drive real results. Again, they were promising awareness and impressions. And, as a VC-backed direct-to-consumer brand, we, especially me heading up growth there, I was like, I have revenue targets to hit. I have customer goals to hit. Like, I need to see some real results here.
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, you had the performance marketing agencies who, were supposedly good at driving customer acquisition, but awful at telling your story, at actually educating consumers. And so there was this like big gap between those two things. And we were really bullish and continuing to see that when you leverage third-party validation and trusted content and storytelling in your performance marketing, that's when you're able to build trust while actually acquiring customers and driving results. So we just felt as brand marketers, there was just such a gap in the space and it was just kind of broken and flawed. So we were really excited about fixing that. And then honestly, there's a consumer story as well. We are aggressive consumers, for lack of a better word. And we were trying all of these direct-to-consumer products and we were advising different founders, and it seemed like every single day there's a new direct-to-consumer brand that people are talking about or that's launching. But then we looked at each other and we're like, who is the publisher that's actually focused on curating this new wave of direct-to-consumer brands? And there wasn't really anyone owning that space. So those two things, both bridging the gap on the brand side and wanting to work with strong advertising partners, but then also on the consumer side, wanting to kind of be that curator of these web first brands, sort of led to the birth, if you will, of the Quality Edit and ultimately Quality Media, which has helped us scale.
And it's great because it's full funnel, right? I think oftentimes as founders, especially when you have a small marketing budget, you have to decide between, do I want to focus that on top of the funnel or do I want to focus on bottom of the funnel?
Right.
And you end up having to choose bottom because you're desperate for revenue, right? Like you, in order to exist as a business. So that kind of leads me to the next question, which is around how have brands made mistakes in starting out with positioning themselves? The market is so saturated with F&B brands and wellness brands. How do you help differentiate them? But then also, what are the sort of common things that you see they do wrong?
Yeah, it's such a great question. I think over the last few years, especially, the barrier to entry to create a brand has never been lower. And while it's still very challenging, and especially if you're looking to fundraise, there's just so much competition, kind of as you mentioned. And so I think the biggest mistake that I see founders making is really failing to build a clear, differentiated brand story that really resonates emotionally with their audience. And even doing some of that initial customer testing to really understand, is there a true need for this product? And is there a way that we're going to show true product market fit? Even dating back to Ritual days, the CEO and I walked down Melrose and started asking women, what's in your vitamin? And no one knew what was in their vitamin. And they had been taking it for 6 years. And many of them did not even know the brand they were taking for 6 years, even though it was something they'd maybe go into CVS looking for, once a month or have on Amazon delivery. So that was like this incredible, I still get chills to this day talking about it, like aha moment. So I think the first thing is really like lack of a distinct, point of view. Too many brands really launch with like this Me Too kind of approach, really mimicking trends rather than defining what truly sets them apart. So we work on behalf of both companies, Dreamday and Quality Media, on behalf of brands that have a really clear ethos. A lot of times are, founder led and are very mission driven brands. And a lot of times are kind of disrupting an outdated category or serving an underserved community. There's one anecdote that, just quickly like summarizes what I'm talking about. I once spoke to a founder who was like a 65-year-old gentleman, and he had launched a swimwear line. And, I was really curious, like, how did you, get into women's swimwear? And he just said, I saw a market opportunity. Like I ran the numbers and, it looked good. And, that's valid too. There's many ways to, start a business. But I think from a storytelling perspective, for me, that was obviously a lot less compelling. I can't go to editors and tell them, hey, this gentleman saw a business opportunity. Isn't that exciting? So I think that's really the first one, is like lack of a distinct point of view. Really also like an overemphasis on product and underinvestment in the brand. We get pitched so many, brands from founders that are obviously super passionate, have done a lot of homework into their ingredients and formulations and innovative features. But really, the why behind the brand is so important. Having that emotional connection and storytelling, and also just like cultural relevance is like the timing right for this brand or product. That's what drives kind of, the outsized effect that we see to create editorial darling brands and to really drive long-term loyalty. Because I'm sure Lee will speak to this, like you can acquire customers to a certain point, but then you can't forget about really like the loyalty and retention. And that's a lot of how we're measuring success as well. Trying to think of any others. I think
how do you help them determine what differentiates them, right? Like what makes them unique? What is their why? Like, do you guys have an exercise that you do with companies as they're onboarding to start to understand, okay, what makes me unique and not like every other vitamin brand?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of times when brands do work with us, they've done a lot of that foundational work. We tend to work with brands that are further along, usually like around 10 million in revenue, at least speaking on the Dreamday side. However, we do go back and do a lot of that work if we feel like the connection is kind of missing. Maybe something's not hitting or still not feeling differentiated enough. So whether that's like ideating collaborations or partnerships, or going back to the drawing board and kind of doing like a SWOT analysis or competitor analysis. And then again, kind of laddering back to, okay, like here's the brand's key value propositions, but here's the ones that we really need to like play up and kind of, tease. into injecting them in some way into the cultural zeitgeist. So it's fine to have, here's your key like USPs, or here's the value props you stand for, but what's actually going to resonate and be able to cut through the noise. Lee, were you going to say something too?
Yeah, I can share a quick framework that I really like using, and it might sound obvious, so bear with me, but I really think it's crucial. And that's problem, solution, and then after that problem, solution, how has that solution sort of transformed your consumer's life, or how has that made them feel?
Okay.
So in a ritual example, since we've been using that already, the problem is traditional multivitamins are full with like unnecessary crap and nobody knows what's in them. The solution is Ritual is creating, traceable, clean ingredients and showing you where everything's from. The transformation is then that the consumer feels confident and comfortable that they know exactly what they're putting in their body. So it's almost like one step beyond just what is the problem and what is the solution, but then how are you making people feel by solving that problem for them? How does that change their lives or impact their lives?
I love that. Beautiful.
There's probably so many more that we could.
I know. I can talk about frameworks for the next hour. So I'm like, Lee, just stop there.
I do want to hear about the third-party validation piece, Lee, that you spoke about, because I do think that that's such an important aspect of, especially when we're talking about wellness, right? Like there's so many wellness brands coming into the fold. How do they get that third-party validation? How do you all seek to help educate, but also enable that trust in the work that you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's really the whole thesis behind everything we do, is that trust is so crucial. Without it, there's really like no chance at building a business. And I think for a long time that kind of got away from brands, maybe especially in the Facebook ads sort of golden era. It kind of felt like anybody could just like slap some Facebook ads out there and have success, and that's just really no longer the case. I have some stats that I often refer to that are kind of top of mind. One of which is that I think it was 90 or 95% of customers read reviews before making a purchase. So again, if you're
I think about that, especially I think what in the world that we're living in now, where you want to know what's in the products. You want to know how it's made, where it's made,
exactly,
impact on your health. Yeah.
Exactly.
Imagine like seeing an ad, it's so much more impactful for someone to say, we tried this versus that. This is why we like this one more. Or I tried this, like, here's my honest thoughts. That's going to be such a more impactful way to bring someone into your brand versus you as the brand saying, we're so great and this is why, right? Like 9 times out of 10, you're going to click on that other ad. But I think, Ali, to your point, it's been interesting to see how the landscape more broadly has evolved and become a lot more bifurcated. In that, maybe the majority of people did go to, traditional publishers to receive kind of their product recommendations. And that's how you would discover new brands and products. And now there's ChatGPT and AI snippets on Google. And there's, TikTok and X and podcasts and broadcast and, traditional publications and newer publications and Substacks, right? A lot of editors have cut out the middleman, meaning the publisher, and gone straight to monetizing their own voices through their Substacks. And so I think that is, as Lee mentioned, really the through line between Dreamday and Quality Media is getting that third-party validation. On Dreamday, we're able to get it from a lot of publishers and other partners, including the Quality Edit, which our team pitches often. And then at Quality Media, we're able to help amplify that press, right? Dating back to Ritual days, I was always really disappointed because I'd get a great PR hit, but then, after a month, like it would completely die down. And I'm like, wait, no, this story is so great. This is how we should be introducing our, customers to the brand over the lifetime of the brand. So how can we really leverage it? And that's where I worked very closely with Lee to help figure out how we can leverage that press really in perpetuity of the brand. So for example, we forged this really innovative partnership with BuzzFeed, and we continued to leverage that editorial piece in our advertising for many years to come. and nothing could really ever beat that performance. So that was also a major aha moment that I mentioned, really led to kind of, what we're doing now on really both sides of the businesses.
And then you guys, I think you're referencing, is that white labeling?
It's called whitelisting.
Whitelisting. Can you
Yeah.
speak about whitelisting and how you guys go about creating those relationships, and then what that does as sort of a step further?
Yeah, very simply at Quality Media, we have the earned publication, the quality edit. We have a 90% trust rating with our audience. Most of our content there, we're 95%.
That's unheard of, by the way. That's like,
yeah, thank you.
That's
We've built a really
normal.
nice cult following, and 99% of our content there is all just organic, and it's because we have amazing editors who, a lot of them have come to us from top tier publications, who are penning kind of that content. And so clients basically use our performance marketing arm, which is Quality Media, to amplify a lot of the editorial and third-party credibility that we get through the quality edit, more of like the sponsored content arm that we're creating for them. So whitelisting can mean anything from a brand putting their budget behind basically just another handle or another voice, whether that's an influencer or content creator or publication, like we have at the Quality Edit. And then we also have a lot of content creators who are clients are whitelisting through their handles with us as well.
So you talked a little bit about the content creation that's done a lot by editors, but influencers and UGC have also become obviously super critical for brand marketing. What is your approach when you curate creators to ensure that they align with brand's audience? Like, what's your sort of process, and how do you help clients do that?
Yeah. So we believe that the best creator is the creator that is going to be the most authentic about your brand. And that's almost like, I don't actually really care, especially if we're able to amplify that content. I don't necessarily care how massive your audience is or how small your audience is, as much as I care about how much do you genuinely, authentically believe in this brand or product. And that's going to come across, especially in our performance publishing model, which I can definitely speak to in more depth as well. But because we work with so many different brands, we've been able to create a Slack channel essentially of hundreds of creators that we've worked with over time. And what we're able to do now is just kind of ping that Slack, like, hey, anybody loving this brand, anybody enjoying this product? And it's a really cool way to kind of filter through.
Amazing. You have it's like fish in a barrel for you.
Exactly. They jump in, they're like, oh my God.
The first part is like sourcing all of that.
Yeah, we have an amazing team on the Quality Media side who's just constantly building relationships and vetting and sourcing creators, whether that's for an existing client or even just to kind of get them into our world and into our umbrella, so that we can go with that approach of, hey, who's interested in Oura Ring, or who's been using it to sleep like Lauren, and track their sleep for the last however many years. So really starting with that excitement and engagement and authenticity that is coming from that creator, I think is really where success comes from.
I do want to back up. So Grace asked from the audience, which I think is a great question. So you guys feel free to chime in if you have additional questions that sort of build off of what Lauren and Lee are talking about. But at what point in the business do you recommend starting affiliate programs? I think it's a great question, because I grapple with that too.
Yeah, it is a great question. I think it goes back to kind of the resources that you have available to you. So, if you're a venture-backed company and you want to basically deploy every channel kind of out of the gate, and that makes sense for your overarching strategy because you're going to be doing a lot of consumer press. I think there's not a one-size-fits-all strategy. But what I would say is, if you're a consumer brand and consumer product, if you're getting a lot of organic mentions, or you're planning to have consumer PR be a large part of your strategy, an affiliate platform is a must, because you're not going to be competitive with your competitors if they're all offering affiliate commissions to these publishers, and you're a new brand that's unknown, that's not driving as much traffic or revenue than them. And you're not compensating the publisher through any sort of affiliate commissions. So it really depends on kind of the strategy, and if you're a consumer brand, and if press is going to be a big part of your strategy, and third-party credibility, whether that's working with bloggers or influencers or not. I think affiliate is not right for every brand. But I think it is right for brands that have consumer products that are heavily talked about in the press.
And maybe just some sort of watch outs is, what types of affiliate. I think, I've seen a lot of clients and early brands do it in a sort of quantity over quality way, which just results in, you have all of these promo and coupon sites, and none of that is incremental. These are people that maybe were probably purchasing as they kind of clicked on that affiliate link. So I think it's also about making sure you're being strategic about where you need to show up. And I always tell brands, for example, a recently launched dog food brand that we're working with, do I think that they need to be on coupon sites? No. Do I think that they need to try to get featured by publications that are talking about what are the best dog foods? Like if you go and Google search what is the best dog food, and you go through 3 pages of publications and nowhere to be found is this new brand, it's going to be a little bit harder to get that conversion and ultimately to get that trust. So kind of thinking about where you want to show up and where you don't want to show up, I think is equally important as to like when you're opening your affiliate program.
Absolutely. So many traditional affiliate agencies like just deploy kind of bottom of funnel partners. And to Lee's point, that is at a complete detriment to the long-term success of the brand. So a more strategic way to go about it would be to try to form relationships with top tier publishers, with high SEO impact bloggers. So like she mentioned, search for your competitors on Google, see what articles come up when you search top 10 dog food brands of 2025, and try to figure out a way to partner with those publications to get your brand added. A lot of times that means you have to offer them an affiliate commission. A lot of times those publishers know exactly how much money you have to offer them to get in that #1 spot. And, sometimes it's like a $200 for competitive categories like dog food or vitamins. Sometimes it's like, if it's Forbes or a big publication, like $250 to get that top spot per acquisition that you drive. But not being included in those articles, to Lee's point, has a hugely detrimental effect on the overarching brand. When people search for your brand, that full first page of Google needs to populate with organic reviews, with affiliate, SEO sort of like listicles to aid in really that organic conversion rate, but also the storytelling, brand building behind your brand. That's going to drive like the longevity of the success of the company.
Great questions and also great answers. It's so layered and sort of multifactorial. When it comes to, I do want to go back to influencers and creators, because what if you, and this is sort of speaking to Sienna's question, if you're earlier on, right? Like you're just starting out, you don't have a celebrity attached to you, you're not a big company. What advice would you have for those businesses in getting into the hands of the right creators and the right ambassadors that can really talk about their product and give them that trust and efficacy story before like they have a big budget to be able to pay for those slots?
Yeah, one way I love to recommend going about it is, can you actually just look through or has anybody tagged you? And again, I especially at that stage when you don't have budget, I don't really care if you have following or not. I care if you are authentically in love with my product or brand or service. So if you have existing customers that you're already seeing are maybe repeat purchases, and you can reach out to them like, hey, it looks like you're loving my product. Are you interested in writing a video testimonial or a review, or like getting involved in any way? I think you'd be surprised more often than not, some of those early adopters of your product are going to be excited about being an ambassador in one way or another. And again, you can amplify that content. So even if they don't have their own audience, it's still so powerful to have that third party authentic, trusted review that you can then share, whether that's organically with your audience on socials, or, ideally in a paid amplification standpoint, which is sort of part of our performance publishing engine, if you will. The more that you can amplify those types of voices, rather than only amplifying your own. Like, think about it. If you are a brand just starting out and you have, $50K a month budget, I don't know, across your paid media spend, are you better served spending all of that money talking about how amazing you are over and over and over again? Or are you better served amplifying the voices of those that are actually using and trusting and enjoying your product and service, and actually using your dollars to amplify those voices so they can talk about how amazing you are?
Right. And I do want to get into, you talked a little bit, Lee, about paid for a moment there. And I definitely want to get into paid, because I think that's also a really important part of the ecosystem. But I do want to go back to the trust piece again, because it is such a big part of what you all offer, and your secret sauce. And I want to talk about trust killers. I would love to hear from you all. Like, what are the things that brands do that absolutely kill trust as opposed to building it?
Yeah, wow. A few things, a few mistakes I've seen. I think one, trying to grow or scale at the cost of everything else, including the quality of your product and the quality of your customer service. I think that that's the first thing, especially in this paid ecosystem where it is possible technically to just go and throw, tens of millions of dollars at paid ads to acquire customers at a crazy scale. But if you're doing that before you've really perfected your product, or listened to your customers' pain points, or address customer service, constraints, or address like long shipping timelines, all of those things, you're just sort of setting yourself up for failure, and you're kind of like ruining trust with a large audience really quickly. So I always recommend against that. And then I think trust is very difficult to earn and very easy to break, essentially. And especially in our world, there's a lot of gray area. There's a lot of, we're dealing with a lot of like growth hacky type of marketers that are willing to go to such extreme lengths of kind of maybe cutting costs or doing things in slightly like shadier ways in order to like get the most efficient CAC possible. And I think if you're not simultaneously thinking about trust when you're thinking about growth, there's a lot of room for error there. And we see fake influencer accounts being created by brands. We see fake publisher accounts being created. And okay, great, you'll get a lower CAC maybe temporarily, but like, what is a faster way to ruining trust with your audience than basically like creating fake non-existent, people and publishers? So we see that quite a lot. And I think we have the partners that we work with are unwilling to compromise on trust in the way that they grow. But I think that a lot of brands can't necessarily say the same. So I think that those playing the long game and playing the trust game are going to win. And we're already seeing that. And those that are sort of trying to be like sneaky and cut corners and cheeky, I think, maybe in the short term they'll get some efficient customers, but I just don't think that that's the long game of winning.
Lee kind of said this, but I'm just going to underscore it. The number one thing I think to ruin trust is to lie to the customer. And you'd be surprised, to Lee's point, how many brands, myself even, that I've been duped by false claims. And even one recently, I kind of investigated on my own and dug a little bit under the hood. And they were saying that they have, I think some sort of certification. And then I Googled like that certification website, and I said, does this brand have this certification? ChatGPT makes this type of investigation very easy, by the way, as well. And it said, no, we are in no way affiliated with this brand. And this is a brand that, I have on subscription and I'm buying every, 3 months and spend my hard earned money on. And when I tried to find their third party,
I feel like, isn't that illegal? Like, can't they be taken down by, what's the name of the organization that?
Better Business Bureau.
Yeah, Better Business Bureau.
Yeah. Yeah. So then as I was posting this on social media, because I was pretty mad, honestly.
Yeah.
And some editors responded to me and they're like, oh, there's like a class action lawsuit. But I don't want to say the brand, but I can tell you that everyone in this room knows like the brand, and it's huge. And as I was kind of like exposing this, like so many friends were also like, oh my God, I also subscribe. And whether the product works or doesn't work, lying to the customer is wrong. And so to Leah's point, like cutting those corners is just, I think, unacceptable, no matter what that founder goes on to do. Yeah, I would never buy anything that person sells again.
So in terms of creative, right, whether it's with your organic content, like I think that social media is becoming very quickly the number one source of people's purchasing decisions. How do you get thumb stopping, whether it's an ad or content, into people's feed?
Yeah, I can talk about this for forever. I think it's a few things. One, you need to really be adding value. So either inspiring or educating or sparking joy or humor or something more of a what can I give you rather than what do I want to take from you. And I think that that's been like a big shift where paid ads were and still are a lot of the times very like direct response focused, like buy this, my thing is amazing, buy me. But I think where we're seeing the most success is actually more so where we can actually provide value and sort of educate and show the why and almost let the consumer sort of come to their own conclusion of like, oh yeah, good point, like this product will help me solve that.
Yeah.
Another tangent I could go on the creative side, which I have Lauren will roll her eyeballs because I say this 10 million times a day. But creative is the new targeting. So in a world where we're now past these Apple iOS updates where targeting on these platforms used to be incredibly effective and is no longer effective, the new way of reaching the right people is through the creative itself. So you not only have to have thumb-stopping creative, but you have to think about like, how can I use this creative to even just reach the people that I want to reach? So it's really become the biggest lever to pull, both on like who you're reaching and how, and also what you're reaching them with. So it's really become the biggest lever to success, both on the paid side and I think organic as well on social.
I love that. Creative is the new targeting.
That I should stamp it on my forehead because I say it more than probably anything else right now.
So, and then in terms of underrated marketing tactics, I want to go there too. So creative, obviously super important. Influencers, building trust, making sure that you get those reviews. Any other tactics that we haven't covered that you all are like, this is a really important lever to be pulling?
Aside from performance publishing with the quality ad and quality media?
Yes.
I'm kidding. I think another thing that I have been, admittedly, I'm not a professional in this quite yet, but the way that we were talking about how consumers were looking for the best dog food, for example, and for a long time, we were telling brands, make sure that you're owning the first 3 pages of Google results when somebody's searching for dog food. Well, now people are going on ChatGPT and describing what their dog is or how old their dog is and asking for a very personalized recommendation of dog food from ChatGPT. So I'm already having a lot of conversations with people in the space, including a friend of mine who runs growth at a very large publicly traded beauty brand. And they're starting to see a ton of traction through showing up in AI search results and all over the world. They're getting all of these international queries. So I think that there's this, I think the new and the next wave is going to be like SEO for AI. And I think the brands that can get ahead of that are going to win as well. And I think I'm still wrapping my head around exactly what that looks like. But
That's to see, how does one even go about that?
It's interesting because a lot of times it's leveraging actually the traditional publications within the recommendations. So as I was looking for water filters or, air purifiers, like
I feel like we have a very similar chat GPT prompt.
Yeah. It was giving me these beautiful tables of like pros and cons. And I asked it specifically, what are the ones that are the most research with the most third-party data behind them and studies? And it was referencing a lot of the top tier editorial, and then it would cite that editorial as a reference below. Who's to say how many people are actually clicking on the reference? I didn't. I just took ChatGPT for face value and I said, I'm going to pick this one and that one. But yeah, I think that's really interesting, and we could probably spend an entire session on that. But I also think one thing that we're leaning into that is under leveraged is founder and team led content. I think people connect with people, as we know, so much more than faceless brands. So really encouraging founders, employees. Lee is our new resident expert in terms of LinkedIn influencer.
As of 3.5 days ago, so give me a follow.
But really sharing like behind the scenes insights, opinions, and expertise across all platforms. I'm going to start a Substack this week, so I'm excited for that. I think that can also, aid in really building trust around the brand. And similarly, sticking to third-party validation, just community-driven brand building as well. So instead of chasing really like mass awareness, also focusing on, or maybe not instead of, but in addition to, focusing on really niche micro communities. So we see Reddit has been prioritized on Google. That's an amazing place to kind of, go into and make sure that you're canvassing and researching. Facebook groups, Discord servers. I know I mentioned Substack like 5 times already, but really like engaging authentically and adding value and participating in those conversations.
So I have like 5 more questions just based off of that. Like when I'm like, how do people find the time? So we'll try to get to that in sort of a recap of this. But we do have time for one more question, and that's that the digital landscape is always evolving. How can founders future-proof their marketing strategy to ensure long-term success? Because like all this is great, right? But what are some of the things that they can do to kind of look forward and know that they're laying the most solid foundation?
I can start with just, again, we're really encouraging all of our clients at Dreamday to really diversify their marketing efforts. So making sure that maybe, they launch their own Substack, or their founder has a Substack, or making sure that they're on Reddit or on X or in all these places. And as their PR agency, we're also forging those relationships on their behalf on a daily basis. Yeah. I think I keep preaching to the Dreamday team that, we coined this term around performance PR in 2019. And I saw that as the first major wave of change where, editors are incorporating more commerce revenue into kind of driving what is then lucrative for the publisher. But I think the next wave is really this, again, bifurcation of not leaning on one, channel to really drive that third-party credibility, which I think leans into, quality media also really well. We see our kind of strategy as combining all of the best components of what's actually working on paid social in this new kind of era. And so we're not only helping our clients acquire customers there, but also building brand and storytelling for really the longevity of the brand. Lee, I don't know if you had anything you want to add to that.
I think to tie a bow on it, I think trust is everything. And so I think that if you're prioritizing growing alongside building trust, I think you're setting a good foundation. And as far as future proofing, we've spoken a little bit about AI. I mean, the amount of time you can get back by leveraging AI is incredible. I think just don't lose sight of human authenticity and curation and building trust, and sure, use those AI tools to like help you do more of that. But I think really use that foundation of trust, authenticity, and growing sustainably through those 2 items.
Yeah, that's such a good point too on the trust versus balancing it with AI. It's like, do I use AI to like write my content for me?
Yeah.
Not if it's not doing a good job of sounding exactly like you and you don't read it and go, wow, like that's exactly what I would have done or said.
I can tell you we get so many applications with cover letters that are like clearly written in AI, or, you know, even some like Slack messages and whatever. Like when you're someone who uses ChatGPT on a regular basis, like we are, you know, it's like
And
when you,
everybody's going to be there too, right?
yeah,
You
you
actually
know,
have somebody copy and paste their prompt.
everyone starts to sound exactly the
prompt.
Yeah.
And then yeah.
On LinkedIn, there's like all these prompts that it's like so clearly AI, like, you know, what do you think? Or like, you know, what are you seeing? And it just becomes inauthentic. And to Lee's point on, or all of our points on trust, you know, that's also a surefire way to lose trust.
Amazing. Well, ladies, I couldn't be more appreciative of this time and this masterclass of sorts in building our marketing funnel. And I think it's just so brilliant that you really have covered the full funnel and integrated in such an amazing way, really understanding what consumer brands need. So thank you for doing the work that you're doing, and for the time, and for everybody listening. Again, 10th House, our applications are open right now for our health and wellness cohort. So that's everybody from health providers to healthcare platforms to fitness professionals. You can kind of be anybody in that sphere. Maybe you actually have a healthcare product, you know, like LED light, or you're making a new tool for wellness. All of those things fit. They close on March 20th. And again, trust is everything. So feel free to also talk to our other community members in the 10th house already if you are curious. But really appreciate this. I've learned so much. I know the whole audience has. And I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day.
Thank you so much. It was great chatting with you.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.